All right, our retro review of the original series talks about Spectre of the Gun after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. There are a couple of things that bother me about Spectre of the Gun. This is the one where the Enterprise approaches Malkosia, and there is a warning buoy, which in the original version of the special effects looked like kind of a rotating loaf of bread, but in this case they in the enhanced version they actually made something that looks more like a satellite. At any rate, the buoy warns them to stay away from them and not to go any further and to turn back. So, of course, the Enterprise says, well, no, we're not going to do that. We don't care what they want. We're going to go in and make contact with them. Prime Directive doesn't even come into effect here. And they don't know anything about the Malkosian Society, so it's kind of interesting that they just assume that they are an advanced species and just going in. But beside that, they go on in, and as they beam down, they find that they're in just kind of a fog. And the tricorder doesn't work, the phasers don't work, the communicators don't work, and immediately they find themselves in a western town. Now, the reason that the sets were incomplete, they just had flats. They had, the storefronts and then kind of a basic detail of the insides of certain places, like the bar and the sheriff's office and the dentist office, and they mentioned some others, but everything else is just basically a flat, and the skies are just kind of a red. And there are signs hanging out of nowhere, it would seem. And this is all noticed by them. And they make mention of the fact that there's not much there, and the Malkosians probably put it there just because it was enough to make the effect that they were looking for. And yet they still treated it like it was real. They treated it like it was real. They go and they try to reason with people that appear out of nowhere and act as if everything really is a replay of history. And it's quite obvious that it's being controlled by the Malkosians. They notice when there's a force field at the edge of town. They notice when there's a force field at the edge of the OK Corral. They should figure it out when their gas grenade doesn't work. And the only thing that they really come with is that, we can train our minds to think that this isn't real because it isn't. But the fact of the matter is that they were clued in from the very beginning that it wasn't real. They knew where they were. They knew they weren't transported back to Earth. It didn't look anything like Earth. It didn't look anything like a Western town. It looked like a movie set, which is what it was, really. And so from this, it seems unlikely that they went through all of this trying to reason with the people that are obviously just put there by the Malkosians in order to continue this fiction of where they're going to be executed. The Malkosians said, this is going to be the pattern of your death. And so basically they know they're going to be killed, and they are given the clues as to what to expect when they get there. And the only way they get out of it is to basically be convinced by Spock, by mind meld, that none of it's real and therefore nothing can hurt them. And at the point where then the bullets go through them, the captain once again attacks one of the characters and points a gun at him and eventually says, I'm not going to kill him. And the Malkosians say, oh, well, you're a man of peace now, and we're going to let you go. And they find themselves back on the Enterprise. Okay. So many things are wrong with this. First of all, if they've decided that all of this is unreal, why does he go into the fist fight with a guy? Why does he point the gun at him? Why do the Malkosians care that he doesn't point a gun at him? How is it the Malkosians know enough about them to find an arcane part of history, especially for them? They're in the 23rd century, and you go back to Tombstone, Arizona, which we know kind of from Western TV shows, but not much else. There's the history there, but how many people know in enough detail the name of the Clanton gang and exactly what it was about? The Clantons actually were outlaws. and the Earps were law enforcement at the time. They kind of reversed that on this. But, I mean, that's beside the point. If the Melkoshians know enough about all of this, they should also know that the Federation is peaceful. And apparently that was all it needed, was for Kirk to basically say, no, I'm going to kill this person, we're peaceful, and they say, okay, come on in. It just doesn't hold water in my estimation. Now, the reason that the sets were as unconnected as they were was because the show didn't have the budget to build an entire Western town set. And while there were still backlots at the time that would have entire Western things, they used the Universal backlot a great deal, and it still had a Western set on it. It was not, they for some reason couldn't do that, and so they go to their own second studio and just build flats and only what's absolutely needed: a table to sit down at, a bar to stand at, a desk, a barber chair, shelves, sorted props. And certainly when it was written, they weren't aware that the sets could not be built, so they didn't really make any mention other than the very beginning, and that was probably just a last-minute change in dialogue of the sets being incomplete. They explained that right at the beginning, but in the rest of it, they make no indication that anything is wrong. Now, we could say perhaps that since they were put in this position, that they were made to believe that this all was real, even though we as a viewer can see that it's not. So, who are the Malkots? Are the Melkoshians? Are they like the Telosians? Are they so clever at being able to read people's minds that they can create a whole world around them that they believe? And if so, why does the Federation want to find out more about them? We've already had their bad experience with the Telosians. And we know that the Telosians had some block onto with violent thoughts and things like that. And perhaps that's the case with the Melkoshians as well, but they really didn't get in there. And all of these things, I mean, just poke holes and holes and holes into it. Otherwise, it was kind of a low-budget Western. The acting was reasonably good, especially the Earps. They were all monotone. They were all, we have no feeling. We have one thing to do, and that's it. And the fact that no matter how our characters objected to being called the Clantons, everybody saw them as the Clantons, and they should once again know that they're not going back in history. They are in a construction by the Melkoshians. So a lot of it just doesn't hold together, in my opinion, and I think that the sad thing about this is just a little bit of rewriting probably would have improved it greatly, that they could have gone back to a backlot if they had the money for it. They could have believed that they were being sent back in history, and they could have been put in, Western dress and not known that it was all illusory. But as it is, it just doesn't hold water in any way that I can tell. So, well, I guess it's worth seeing. It's kind of interesting. It gives more of the other characters something to do. McCoy has more to say than he's dead Jim. Chekhov has a side romance. Scotty actually has a couple of things to do other than saying we got no power. And that's where we are in Spectre of the Gun. So I'd like to know what you think about this. Please subscribe if you have not done so, and leave your comments below. And if you'd click a like, we would appreciate that as well. We have, coming up on Friday, we'll have a review of another episode of Babylon 5. And like I've been saying in the last few videos, we are awaiting the November 25th premiere of the new Doctor Who specials under Russell T. Davies. And they are, as far as has been revealed about them so far, going to be rather exciting. So we hope that you'll be around for our reviews of those when they come about. So thank you very much, and until we talk to you next time, don't go far.